Yohann, your host for the session, and thank you for tuning in. That said, if you guys want to contribute to our topics, have any questions, or just want to tell us what an amazing job we're doing, you can reach out to us at 6364252164. Now, let's jump right into it. So, for this episode of the Reality Bang, we are going to be talking about suicide prevention. And of course, we have a very special guest here with us, Miss Susan George. It's great to have you back on the show.
Thank you.
So before we start, I'm just going to give an introduction to Miss Susan. So Miss Susan is an accomplished academic professional and the current head of department of social work in the Global School of Counselling, Bangalore. It's really great to have you back here. So let's jump right into it. So my very first question is now we all know like each society is different, right? So there are different challenges in different societies. Now, for example, in Korea, there's a higher rate of suicide, seen in adolescents due to academic pressure, while Japan itself it's more common amongst adults because their work culture, right? Now, in India, young people, often face exam stress, unemployment, family expectations, and adults struggle with a lot more financial difficulties and relationship issues and of course other pressures. So could you tell us like how these kind of challenges can affect a person's mental health to the extent that they begin to feel overwhelmed and unable to cope up?
Well, I'm glad we are having this conversation because suicide is something that touches more lives than we often realize. So,
Yeah.
talking about it openly without judgment is one of the strongest tools we have to prevent it. And when you think about it, all of us carry pressures like exams, jobs, family responsibilities. But when these pressures feel too heavy and when there's no space to breathe or share, it can slowly eat away at our mental health. So now, when these pressures are ongoing, they don't just stress someone out for a day or two, they start to chip away at self esteem. So, a student who feels that the entire worth is measured by marks, or an adult who thinks that they're failing because of financial struggles, they start to believe that they are not good enough. And we also have to remember that those challenges don't act alone. They often come in clusters. Like a young person might face exam stress and a strained family relationship at the same time, or an adult might deal with financial pressure and health issues together. So it's that combination that overwhelms a person's coping capacity. So, over time, the sense of being trapped or having no way out can lead to hopelessness. And it's that hopelessness that comes or that becomes so dangerous because it convinces a person that life has become unbearable. So, it's not the challenge itself, but it's the whole feeling of being alone in dealing with it.
Okay. Moving on to the next question. Now, although there are, growing openness in talking about the importance of mental health, now many people still find it difficult to, talk about their suicidal thoughts because, of course, like there is stigma in society, right? So, how can we create an environment, where someone can feel safe and share what they're really going through?
Yeah. So many people don't speak up because they fear being judged or
Hmm.
labeled as weak. So they
Yeah.
think, what will others say? Will they judge me? Will they call me weak? So to create safety, we need to change the way we react. So when someone shares, even in small ways, like saying, I'm exhausted or I feel low, instead of brushing it off with, oh, you'll be fine, we can show curiosity and care. Tell me more, I'm listening. So at the personal level, what I feel is it all starts with everyday conversations. So if a friend says I really feel low, instead of jumping in with quick fixes, we can respond with openness, like by saying, I'm glad you told me, do you want to talk more about it? So these small non-judgmental responses signals safety, and over time, people realize it's okay to bring up difficult feelings without being dismissed. And at the family level, I feel it's about changing the way we see vulnerability. So in many homes, especially in our culture, we are all encouraged to stay strong and not talk back. So, parents can create safer spaces for their children by listening without comparing, like not saying, in my time we had it harder, or but saying, I hear you, but I want to understand. So, that small shift makes a huge difference. And safe spaces aren't built overnight, they are built in small, consistent moments where people learn that they won't be judged for being vulnerable. So, the more normal we make it to speak about mental health, the more likely people are to open up before it's too late. If our homes, schools, or even our workplaces normalize talking about struggles, just like we talk about our physical health, people will begin to feel less afraid to speak.
So moving on to the next question. Now, when someone opens up, about their struggles and they feel like they're in a very dark place, now we may not be able to, fully relate to their situation because it's not like we are being there in their shoes. And even if we are, we can't really relate to that. So, but we want to show them that we are there, we care for them, we want to be present. So, how can we respond with empathy and support in that moment?
I feel that's such an important question that we have to address, because often when someone opens up, we panic a little inside, and
Yeah.
we feel we need to say the right thing, or we need to cheer them up, or we have to fix the problem. But in truth, when someone is in a dark place, what helps most is not quick solutions, but it's the connection that you make with that person. So, the first thing is to listen without judgment. That means resisting the urge to interrupt with advice or to compare, saying things like, others have it worse, or at least you have these, can make them feel even more misunderstood. So instead, simple phrases like, I hear you, that sounds really hard, or thank you for trusting me with this, can make the person feel seen and valued. And second, it's about your presence than being a perfect person. Sometimes when a loved one shares something heavy, our first instinct is to fix it or to say, don't worry, it will be fine. But what they need most in that moment isn't solutions, but it's your presence over there. So we can simply say, I may not fully understand what you're going through, but I'm here with you. And even just sitting with this person silently, showing our tone and body language like we care, can be more powerful than any advice that we might say at that point of time. So, support also means helping them take this next step if they need it. Maybe some of them, they might need an extra step, like encouraging them to talk to a counselor or offering to accompany them if they are scared to go alone. So, empathy isn't about having the same experiences as them, but it's creating a safe bridge between their pain and the hope that help is possible.
Yeah. Now, many people, hesitate to seek help because, of the misconceptions, surrounding suicide. So, could you share with us, some of these misconceptions? Like, what are these misconceptions? And how can we become more sensitive and understanding, especially when somebody opens up to us about their struggles?
Yeah, unfortunately, there are many myths with regard to mental health or suicide concepts. So, one is that talking about suicide. So, one very common myth that we hear is, when someone talks about suicide, it will plant an idea in someone's mind. But in reality, asking about it can save a life because it gives the person a space to share. And another misconception that people who talk about suicide are just seeking attention. And it may not be the truth, it's actually they are seeking help, and ignoring those cries can be very dangerous. And we also tend to believe that strong people don't struggle with such thoughts. But suicide doesn't discriminate between men or women, between rich or poor, between employed or unemployed. Anyone, regardless of their strengths or success, can go through it. And also in our culture, another misconception is that suicide is a sin or a moral failing. So when we use such languages, it adds shame, and which makes people even less likely to ask for support. So suicide is not weakness or morality. It's about a pain that one feels which becomes unbearable. So the more we understand these realities, the more compassionate and sensitive we can when someone opens up to us.
Yeah. Now, my final question is now, if someone is struggling, with suicidal thoughts, now what resources are available to help them? And as a community, like what can we do to create a safer and more supportive environment for those who are undergoing such times or going through such times?
Thankfully, there are many resources available for anyone struggling with suicidal thoughts. So, in India, we have helplines like Astra, Sahai, and Vandrewala Foundation Helpline. More recently, our government also launched Tele Manas, which is a 24/7 national tele mental health program where people can dial the helpline number to get immediate support in their own language. And more than all of these, I think what's just as important as these formal resources is the role of a community. Community is basically us, families, friends, or even colleagues. We are often the first to notice when someone isn't doing well. And if we get into the habit of checking in regularly, asking not just random questions like how are you, but asking how are you really, so it can create a sense of safety. And schools, colleges, and workplaces also need to prioritize mental health so that people feel that they don't have to hide their struggles until it becomes unbearable. And at the end of the day, suicide prevention isn't just about professionals or helplines. It's about all of us choosing to look out for one another, to listen without judgment, and to remind one another that help is always within reach.
Yeah. And with that said, that officially brings us to the end of today's program. A huge thank you to Miss Susan for joining today's show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. And remember, guys, we air on Mondays at 4:30 p.m. That's it. If you guys want to contribute to our topics, have anything to say, or just want to tell us what an amazing job we are doing, you can reach out to us at 6364252164. And a huge thank you to our listeners for tuning into this edition of the Reality Bang, your weekly dose of your power, brought to you by FIBO Online. This is RJ Yohann. Hope you have an amazing week.